Space Mountain looks like it is going to be going under some massive changes at Walt Disney World. Hello everybody, welcome. After more than 50 years, it looks like Disney is planning to change its most iconic attraction into something completely different. Disney has built 5 different space mountains at their theme parks across the world since the very first one was created. But Walt Disney World is the OG. Walt Disney World Space Mountain is the original. Opening way back on January 15th of 1975. It is the original. Since then, they have opened 4 other space mountains. Disneyland shortly followed after, opening in 1977. Then we had the Disneyland Tokyo version opening in 1983. Disneyland Paris opened 1995. And Hong Kong Disneyland opening in 2005. The original version of Space Mountain was modeled after the Matterhorn bobsleds in Disneyland. Though that attraction has aged dramatically. I mean, if you've ever ridden it, it is insanely rough. It is crazy town. It's probably, I think, one of the most iconic, if not the most beloved attractions at Disneyland. I mean, it is old school. It's a giant mountain. It's outdoors. You get in these bobsleds. It's got 2 different tracks, and it's on a big giant mountain. It's basically Space Mountain outdoors. Now, if you take Matterhorn bobsleds, you convert that into a more advanced version, improved tracks and ride vehicles, space themed, make it dark. That's what you've got with Space Mountain. The original Space Mountain, when it was built at Walt Disney World in Magic Kingdom, was actually originally designed to be in a different location than it is today. It was meant to be a little bit further south of Tomorrowland, which is exactly where it is in Disneyland. If you enter into Disneyland's Tomorrowland space, it's sort of like that south side of the property. You kind of go to the right once you enter Tomorrowland. That's really where Space Mountain was supposed to be originally at Magic Kingdom, and then they have ultimately decided to kind of move it outside of the train tracks. So originally it was supposed to be inside the train tracks that circle Magic Kingdom, but they eventually kind of moved the ride itself outside of the train tracks, with the queue and the tunnel to the queue being inside the train tracks. This is why when you enter Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom, you go down into a tunnel and then you go back up, because you're actually going below the train that goes right through there. Once you get to the top and you get to the main queue area, you go to the left to go to the Alpha track, you go to the right to go to the Omega track. And this attraction was absolutely just ahead of its time. In fact, it cost more to build Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom than it cost to build all of Disneyland in California. It cost more money just to build Space Mountain by itself than it cost to build the entire theme park, Disneyland, in California when it was built. That's how crazy this Magic Kingdom attraction was for its time. A couple of heavy hitter facts on Space Mountain. It was the first fully enclosed roller coaster. It was the first indoor steel track coaster. And it was the first computer-controlled roller coaster, which gave it all sorts of things that it could do unique to that ride, with the stopping, the braking, having multiple vehicles on the track at the same time, all computer controlled. It won so many accolades and awards and just the hearts and minds of all the people. So with all of that, why then replace it? Why would you replace Space Mountain when it has all that stuff going for it? Well, first of all, did you know it's one of the slowest attractions at Magic Kingdom? One of the slowest attractions at Walt Disney World in general. It only goes about 27 miles an hour. Contrast that with Barnstormer, which is in the kids area. That goes 25 miles an hour. So this only goes 2 miles an hour faster than the kids' Barnstormer. Now, of course, Space Mountain uses all these effects. It's in the dark. You get all the lighting and things flying by you. Makes you feel like, and the music, it makes you feel like you're going way faster than 27 miles an hour. I swear, when I ride that ride, I think I'm going at least 50. So to me, 27 miles an hour is just crazy that that's all you go. But that is reality. The other thing is that aside from some minor refurbishments over the year, it pretty much has the same track that it's had since opening day. So it has been due for a major upgrade for years now. Originally, they were planning on doing a complete refurb and replacing all of the track in 2009, but they ended up not doing that. They did replace some minor things, they made some updates. Now, there have been a number of changes to Space Mountain over the years. Originally at the queue where you're waiting to get on the ride in the ceiling area there, originally that was open. You could actually see and hear the effects and the roller coaster above you. Of course, it was dark up there, so you couldn't see a whole lot, but it was open into the dome. They eventually blocked that off, and now you have sort of those projections in the sky sort of feeling, a space scene there. The ride vehicles have obviously been updated. They used to be this sort of like 2x2 lap sitting style, similar to the Matterhorn bobsleds, but you did this sort of like 2 people in each vehicle. One person sat right in front of you. Lap sitting, there was no divider between the two, which is a little bit awkward, especially if you didn't know the person. They later eventually added those iconic 3x3 with seat dividers in between each individual. And that was in the year 1989. They added that new 3x3 bobsled style. 1998, they introduced those T-bar sort of restraint lap bar systems. And then in 2009, they introduced the stereophonic sound system, repainted the vehicles to be blue and gray, and that's kind of what we see today. Originally, the entire track was supposed to also be replaced in 2009, along with that upgrade to the ride system itself. But instead, they only did some minor refurbishment. They didn't replace the entire track system. This ride has been sponsored by a couple of different companies, originally RCA, and then it moved to FedEx. And now it's not sponsored by anyone. There's been various queue changes over the years. There used to be interactive games in the queue, different lighting effects, the exit scenes were changed, and then their movable walkway was eventually removed to what you see now, which is just a carpeted floor. But the ride itself, the physical attraction, has really largely remained unchanged since first opening back in 1975. We know that this attraction is due for a massive refurb, a massive upgrade. And word is Disney is now ready to move on this project. They've essentially been waiting for Big Thunder Mountain's refurbishment to complete. That was a year-long refurbishment. It's been down for quite a while, and they replaced the entire track on Big Thunder Mountain. But what we were not expecting is the possibility of a complete reimagining of Space Mountain, creating something completely different. Now, there is still the possibility that this will just be a standard lengthy refurbishment, completely replacing the track with something newer, but essentially leaving the ride, the curves, the turns, the shape, the structure of it basically the same. Maybe get some queue upgrades, maybe get some vehicle improvements and upgrades, improve the sound system a little bit again, maybe add some more dynamic lighting on the inside of the dome, but for the most part, just a basic lengthy refurb. That is possible. This is what they did essentially for Big Thunder Mountain when they refurbished it. Now, that refurbishment, I think the jury is still out on whether people think that was a massively positive change or not so much. I do think there's a lot of things that are cool about it. I like the improved effects. However, I will say one of the things about Big Thunder Mountain that made it really fun for me was how just over the top crazy it was. I mean, they basically say it's the wildest ride in the wilderness, and you definitely felt that on that old track. I mean, that thing was just throwing you left and right. Probably a bit dangerous, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. Probably more dangerous than it needed to be. I mean, you were just getting tossed around like a rag doll on that thing. And the new attraction has the brand new track, which is essentially the track that they use on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, if you've ever ridden that, that sucker is smooth as butter. And now Big Thunder Mountain basically is smooth like that as well. It feels pretty much similar to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So I think a lot of people see that as an improvement. Probably is, I guess, but I just like the throwing me around thing, feeling like I was gonna die at every turn. I kind of like that, especially at nighttime. So I kind of miss it, but I guess overall it's still it was still a positive refurb. So I'd be good with this with Space Mountain. I think doing this sort of refurbishment at that level for Space Mountain would be good. I think it does need to be updated a bit, and that track just needs to be replaced. It's got to be replaced. On average, roller coasters are replacing their tracks every 20 to 30 some odd years. 50 if it's a really well-made and really well-maintained steel coaster, which Space Mountain is, but it's right at that 50. I mean, it's time to get replaced. However, the second option that we keep hearing is a possibility is that this is a complete reimagining, that a complete change of Space Mountain is on the table. This one scares me. It excites me, but it also scares me a little bit. So what are we talking about? What do I mean by a complete reimagining? What I mean by that is exterior changes. The iconic dome of Space Mountain no longer looking like the iconic dome of Space Mountain. looking like something similar, but not the same. The interior queue, completely reimagined. Completely transformed from start to finish, top to bottom, the queue completely transformed. And then the ride system. The vehicles, the track, the design of the ride itself, completely changing. If this happens, this would be wild. Seems crazy, seems like no way are they gonna do that. I mean, this Space Mountain, it's the original, it's the OG. It's basically untouchable in the minds of so many people. Like, leave it alone. Don't mess it up. It's perfection. It seems crazy, no way, right? They basically just did that. They are doing that right now at Tokyo Disneyland. They're doing this exact thing to their Space Mountain right now. The Tokyo Disneyland Space Mountain is one of the oldest Space Mountains. Built in 1983, it was the third Space Mountain that was built. It was completely modeled after the version in Disneyland, and they are changing everything about that ride. Everything about that ride, they're changing. The exterior is completely being replaced. Not just changed, replaced. The building itself, completely demolished. So let me show you a visual here. This is what the visual of where they were in construction a bit ago. It's different now. But this image shows you the new Space Mountain that they're building and the old Space Mountain side by side. You can still see the original Space Mountain there that they built was sitting right there. And right next door to it is the new Space Mountain. Now that has since now been leveled. The old Space Mountain is now gone. It's not even there anymore. But I wanted to show you this picture so you could see it, that they were building a completely new building from scratch alongside the old existing building. The new building there you can see sort of has those two spires attached to it. But what's more important that you see here is that there is a large ride building attached to the dome, attached to the spire. This means that the Space Mountain dome itself becomes a big part of the exterior front-facing theming, but a lot of the ride and attraction itself will live in this building that's attached. Similar to what you see from a Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, where you see that sort of old Universe of Energy facade there, where a lot of the queuing takes place. And then you move into the ride building itself, which is basically a big giant square. This new version in Tokyo looks like it's sort of a combination of that, where you have this theming and queue area and stuff, and the dome where maybe some of the attraction will be, but then there's this extension of this large building that combines either the queuing and additional pieces of the attraction and potentially even a very well thought out integrated gift shop. But now let's talk about the ride itself. What are we actually getting? What is that ride gonna be like? It is an Intamin roller coaster. If you know anything about Intamin, they know how to make a roller coaster. Like, Intamin's roller coasters are serious business. This is literally like top level roller coaster design. Right now, Disney only has a handful of Intamin roller coasters. They've got a couple of different attractions and some roller coasters, things like the Incredicoaster at Disney's California Adventure, Raging Spirits. But over on Universal side, they've been having a partnership with Intamin for a while. Jurassic World Velocicoaster, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift coming to Universal Studios in Orlando. I mean, those are heavy-hitting, intense, over-the-top, crazy roller coasters. This is the kind of roller coaster that they're building at Tokyo's new Space Mountain. This roller coaster is expected to be a tilt roller coaster, so it's going to have a tilt launch. I want to show you a few visuals here. These are unofficial visuals of the track layout and of the launch that was done by a third party here. They did a really fantastic job of creating these. Don't know 100% if this is going to be right on or not, because a lot of this is happening under a roof, but this is right now the speculation on what we're getting. So in this new Space Mountain, gone is the two-track system. Gone is the Alpha and the Omega side. No longer would there be two different tracks. This version of Space Mountain is one single track that every ride vehicle goes on. You can see it has two loading bays, similar to a Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Two loading bays converge onto one track, you experience the track, and then you come back to the two loading bays. Expectations is that this is going to be a much more intense version of a Space Mountain, probably getting up to around 60 miles per hour. This is roughly the same speed as a Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, around 60 miles an hour. Velocicoaster goes about 70 miles an hour. The current Space Mountain in Tokyo only goes about 30 miles an hour, which is 3 miles an hour faster than the Magic Kingdom version. So the intensity and speed of this roller coaster going up a notch, most likely. From a ride vehicle perspective, gone is this sort of like old school 2x2 ride vehicle system, which is essentially the same vehicle system that they have in Disneyland in California. These new ride vehicles are expected to be these Omni coaster style spinning roller coaster vehicles, very similar to the roller coaster vehicles on, once again, I'm going to say it, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. These roller coaster vehicles have actually been spotted. There are pictures of them. So we are expecting this sort of spinning roller coaster effect. New on-ride audio, obviously, with new vehicles. Is going to come new on-ride audio, new projections, new projection mapping, digital displays, dynamic lighting, just like on Guardians. And what I said earlier, a much larger ride building to house this larger, more intense roller coaster. So if you think about the existing Space Mountain right now, the entire ride vehicle is contained in that dome. And then Disney added this sort of, there's this front queue here, building facade where you enter and then you go down, and under the train tracks right next door, they built this, they sort of bolted on this gift shop experience, but it doesn't really feel like wholly integrated into the dome and the experience. And so this new version over in Tokyo is all integrated into one structure, which looks really nice and beautiful. But as you can see, it has a much larger footprint. So could they be building something as big and as intense as what they're building in Tokyo in Magic Kingdom? Well, there is space for it. If we look at the space and the layout and the area of Space Mountain where it lives today, there is plenty of space around that when you include the dome, you include the gift shop, you include the entrance queue, some of the space next door. There's plenty of space to build something very similar to the one in Tokyo in this area. But I want to talk really quickly about reasons why this might not happen. Tokyo Disneyland needed this ride. Tokyo Disney Sea, phenomenal. It's got lots of things, lots of intense things, but Disneyland itself doesn't really have much in it. I mean, it's kind of the same as it's been around opening day, not had a lot of improvements. There's really no intense roller coaster in Tokyo Disneyland. There's nothing new in that park that's drawing people into it. So they needed something iconic, something massive, something intense that was going to draw people into the Disneyland portion of that park. Magic Kingdom doesn't need that. It doesn't need that new, big, intense roller coaster. They just added Tron right next door. They're adding Piston Peak, and they're adding Villains Land. So it has tons of things where it doesn't need a giant, massive reimagining of Space Mountain. But that being said, there are plenty of reasons why this very well could happen. Number one is Space Mountain's old. It needs a refurb anyway. They got to replace the track. They got to make a bunch of changes to it. Why not think about a reimagination along the way? The other thing is Tomorrowland right now as it sits, it's not so tomorrow. It's kind of today and yesterday. It's not so much tomorrow anymore. So with the exception of Tron and a few things, it's pretty much not feeling like Tomorrowland, not feeling like super energetic and futuristic. And so just a light refurb to Space Mountain, I don't think is gonna help that much. Another thing, Magic Kingdom, most family-friendly park of any park probably in the world aside from like kids resorts. But out of Disney properties, it's probably the most family-friendly. It works for everybody. And believe it or not, the height requirements for the current Space Mountain are 44 inches. The height requirements for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which is what this new Tokyo attraction seems like it's gonna be like, that's only 42 inches. So that actually lowers the requirement for people to ride this ride. So it's even more family friendly. And the vehicles themselves for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind are much more comfortable, much more spacious than the existing attraction. So I think from a family friendly nature, I think the new version of Space Mountain in Tokyo is going to be much more family friendly. Even though it's more intense, I think it's going to be more family friendly than the existing version of Space Mountain in Magic Kingdom. And then the last big thing, Space Mountain is Disney World. Space Mountain is Magic Kingdom. I mean, it has to be the most iconic attraction. The visual, everything about it is Disney. But right now, it's not the best. It's not the best Space Mountain. The Tokyo Disney version, when it opens, is going to blow away the original Space Mountain in Magic Kingdom. And I just don't know that Disney wants their best Space Mountain, their most amazing, iconic Space Mountain, to live in Tokyo. I don't think that they're gonna be okay with that. I think they're gonna say, no, the best version of Space Mountain has to be in Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. It has to be there. So that's what I'm hearing, that there is the possibility out there that they could not just be thinking about a refurb and replacing the track, but they could be thinking about a reimagination like they did in Tokyo. I really don't know what to think. I think it would be amazing, but I also miss the original version of Space Mountain, but the original version of Space Mountain is going away no matter what. So if it's gonna go away, am I okay with it being something new? Probably. I don't know, what do you think? Do you think it's time? Would you be down for it? I always say Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is the best roller coaster on the planet for me. So if they do something similar to that, and it's even close to Guardians, I'm gonna be here for it. I'm gonna be excited. I might actually be okay with the original crazy, herky-jerky, insane, slow Space Mountain and Magic Kingdom being something completely different. So those are my thoughts. I wanna hear what you think. Hit me in the comments below. I wanna know your thoughts. Would you be pumped for it? Or are you like, nah, stop messing with stuff. Perfection is Space Mountain as it is today. Don't mess with it. Love to hear from you. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this content. And once again, thank you so much for watching. Until I see you next time, the Noble Way is the easy way. Bye-bye, everybody.